Alright guys, Mr. G here, and we are bringing you an honest Cyberpunk 2077 review. I've had some time to put my hands on this game and put a few hours into it, spent some time on the Reddit, spent some time taking a look at some of the different scores, watched many of the reviews, read many of the reviews, watched so many trailers, just like all of you. But first, let's address the fact that Cyberpunk 2077 got a Metacritic score of 90. That's a ridiculously high score when compared with the user score of 6 based on currently, as of right now, 1,957 ratings. So a little bit of a disparity. Well, why is there a disparity in that? To me, first of all, it feels like CD Projekt Red is just kind of everybody goes full fangirl on CD Projekt Red, and I get that. They're great guys, they're a great studio. However, it looks like they spent most of their budget for Cyberpunk 2077 on graphics, art, and essentially writing and story. I also don't want to forget to mention the fact that they told their employees that their bonuses depended on a score of over 90 on Metacritic, which they have now changed after the buggy release of the game. Not to mention all reviewers that reviewed the game before the embargo were not allowed to show actual in-game footage of their reviews. On that briefly, but let's really just get behind the fact that there's fewer dialogue options than there was in Fallout 4. Yeah, there are multiple options. Yeah, your decisions will affect the game, but you really aren't left with a lot of different dialogue options in each situation. Maybe just one or two sometimes. Also, the AI. The AI is essentially non-existent. Cars just spawn out of nowhere. If you do any shooting and the police just spawn right into you. The NPCs in the world, they're just following rails and scripted paths. They don't have any really AI coding them to behave and react in a realistic way. I mean, after playing Red Dead Redemption and the animations and the way the characters realistically interact with you just makes Cyberpunk 2077 feel like a pale comparison. Now, is this something that they could fix with a bunch of coding? Maybe. Right now, though, I mean, the game is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be fun to play. However, it feels every mechanic in the game, other than the art, and maybe the story, is done better in other games. The gunplay is a pretty lackluster. The amount of the way you just have to grab loot is kind of painful and unintuitive. I mean, even the crouch key is going to be what moves your dialogue forward. That's going to cause you some problems. So in the end, it feels like it was a little bit rushed, and a lot of the stuff under the surface is just getting covered up with beautiful art and a gorgeous looking game. However, the game's not that gorgeous for people like me playing on a really old, 4 years old laptop, but the people on old generation consoles are going to have it even worse. They're going to be lucky to get 30 frames per second running the game at 760p. So are there a lot of problems with Cyberpunk? Yes. Am I still going to play it and enjoy it? Absolutely. However, can it live up to the hype? In some ways, yes. The way it looks, the stunning story, and just the way the game's going to get delivered. I mean, the voice acting is pretty solid across the board. I mean, the one I hate the most is V, the main character, him or herself. However, am I going to play this game and enjoy it? Absolutely. Were the reviews from all the big agencies a little bit inflated? They absolutely were. Is the game covering up for polish with pretty looking textures and graphics? Yes. So the next time you pull up a crime and cop cars spawn right behind you rather than functioning realistically, just remember there wasn't a lot of budget left for AI and coding and pathing. But we're still left with a beautiful game and a really interesting universe with some really cool ideas behind what the future could be, and it really does a great job of just making you feel like these corporations don't care about us. But is it the game that lived up to all the hype for the last 7 years? Maybe not yet. So if you're somebody who you maybe don't want to touch on this game right now, maybe give it another 6 months. Give it another year. If you want to get in there and play it right now, it is absolutely playable. There are a fair number of bugs and glitches, but it's still a really enjoyable game. Are you going to feel that immersion? Just don't think too hard about some things and think about it like a movie in first person and let it play out for you. If you can do that, you're going to have an enjoyable experience. That's my 2 cents coming from Mr. G on Cyberpunk 2077. Like and subscribe for all things Cyberpunk, and if you want more in-depth analysis, check out my friend Edgerunner Cold. He's got tons of detailed breakdowns on all things Cyberpunk. I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Mr. G out.